All right, so we're reviewing for the quiz. Help me remember, I want to try to talk about a couple junior, senior-ish things that are going on right now that I'm not sure your teachers have told you about. Like the PSAT and college financial aid nights and all that kind of stuff. All right, guys. Quiz tomorrow. I thought, I don't know what's more helpful to you. I thought I would just do a couple examples today instead of writing where you can find them. Is that better? I can do both? Yes, maybe. Maybe you guys can help me to do both, okay? Like factoring, we had a like salmon colored sheet of factoring practice, right? Does that sound familiar? Okay, hang on, I don't have a cursor yet. Just kidding, there we go. Okay, so the factoring patterns, there was practice on the salmon sheet. And then I'm thinking worksheets 1 and 2, there was some factoring. Does that sound right? Anybody? Okay, somebody helping me look for these? Okay. So quick review question here. How do we factor this one? It is difference of squares. So we would get what? Right, good job. Everybody could get that one? And do we solve that one? How do we know? There's no equal sign, right? There's no equal sign and it just says factor. There are some of those on the quiz, and then there are some that say solve by factoring. Okay, and I intentionally picked one for my review here that's kind of miserable. So let me show you how I would do this one. I would, if I was going factors of 6 and factors of 15, there's a lot of them, right? So I would kind of write myself over here 1 and 6, 2 and 3. Those are the factors of 6, right? I wrote over to the side here. I don't know what I just said. Factors of 15 are 1 and 15 and 3 and 5. Okay. I have to figure out what the signs are going to be. What are the signs going to be when I have a plus back here and a minus in the middle? To make a positive 15, multiply to make a 15, but add up to negative, they're going to both be negative. Yes. All right. So now I know that I'm going to have to add something together to get 19. I'm thinking maybe here that would be 9 and this would be 10. Would that make 19? Okay. So I'm just looking at how these factors could multiply and add together to make a 19. All right, so I know I need to use these and these. Does anybody remember my trick? I think I mentioned this. Can the 3 and the 3 go in the same parenthesis? No, because otherwise you'd be able to pull a 3 out, and we couldn't pull a 3 out of the original one, right? Because it didn't come out of 19. That's just a hint. You could just put them any which way and try it. So I'm going to go 2x and 3x, and I'm going to put the 3 and the 5 here. Now to check, I check that middle term. I got negative 10 and negative 9 is negative 19 in the middle. We good? So practice. If you need more factoring practice, I can find you some easily. All right. This one said solve. Can someone solve those? Do you need me to write out the work? If you set this equal to 0, add the 3 over, divide by 2, you'll get 3 halves. Set this one, add the 5, divide by 3, you get 5/3. We okay? Need more clarification on that? All right. There is also a factoring by cubics question. There is actually not a factoring by grouping, but let's review it anyway. What could I, because I took the time to type it in here. So I think the only grouping was on the salmon sheet, right? I don't think we did factoring by grouping on worksheet 1 or 2. The same is true for sum and difference of cubes. Okay, that's on the salmon sheet. If you need more practice on that, I can make more. Again, I don't think grouping is on the quiz, but there is a question with sum or difference of cubes. So I put 2 examples up here. What could we take out of the first 2 here, though? 4m to the third, okay? What would be left? An m plus 2m. Now, when we, how about an m plus 2? Yeah, thanks. I was like, what did I just write? That doesn't make any sense. Okay. Oh, no, I'm using my eraser to write. Okay. When you do grouping, you really need this second one to turn out the same, if at all possible. That's the whole point of grouping. Okay? So what could I take out of these 2 that would leave me an m plus 2? Okay, a 7 and an m, a positive 7m. Could have taken a negative. We needed to take a negative out. Okay? Now, we really didn't do this problem right from the beginning because we should have done what from the very beginning? Doesn't matter. We'll just keep going. Yeah. All right. If I take out this factor of m plus 2, the remainder gets squished together. I have this 4m cubed minus 7m. Before I write it over here, what can we do to this guy? Take out an m. If we take out an m, it'll be a 4m squared minus 7. Is that going to factor further? No. That's disgusting. There isn't one like that on the quiz. All right, let's move on. Difference of cubes or sum of cubes. First of all, you need to be able to recognize cubes. If you don't, could you go through and write down, type in your calculator, 1 to the third, 2 to the third, 3 to the third, 4 to the third, 5 to the third, 6 to the third. I'm pretty sure it doesn't go 7 to the third. Okay. To find all the cubes, if you were looking at what, if it had a cubed here and there wasn't one back here, I'm thinking it might be difference of cubes or sum of cubes, right? All right, the pattern, a cubed plus b cubed equals a plus b. Then you take this guy and square it. You take this guy and square it. In the middle goes an a times a b. And then the rule is if this was a plus originally in the question, the first parenthesis is a plus and the second one is a minus plus. If we do it with a minus here, what's going to happen? Nobody knows this yet? Tomorrow's quiz. It's going to be minus here, and then this one back here is 2 pluses, yes. Okay. Do I need to put more practice somewhere? Okay, how does this first one factor? What's the cubed root of each of those? N and 5, but it had what in the middle? Minus. So what are the signs going to be in the second one? You want to just do the signs first? This one's minus, the second one is plus plus. Okay. The first thing in the parenthesis is this term squared, so we just get an n squared. The second thing back here is the 5 squared, which is 25. In the middle goes one of these times one of these, but you don't worry about the sign, so you get a 5n. And it shouldn't factor further. Can you guys try this next one? Give you 30 seconds to try this one. I think this is 7 cubed. Somebody helping me? What? Is it 7 to the third? Okay. Who's got the first parenthesis? Michael? Okay. This is the one I'm worried about. This very first term. Nice, because it's 2m times 2m, right? So make sure you have 4m squared, not 2m squared. The last term is the 7 squared, which would be 49. The middle one is a 2m times 7, which would be what? 14m, yep. And then the sign changes, so this is a minus and this one's a plus. How many of you had that? How many of you are going to have to make a flashcard tonight and memorize this pattern? Does everybody have the pattern written down somewhere, though? Okay. Because I think on the peach sheet, it didn't print out right. Do you remember that? It wasn't correct on there. I hope I had you write it on there already, but. All right, moving along. Hopefully some of this we've reviewed with some warm-up problems. We did warm-ups like this yesterday, right? How would you solve by square rooting? Oh, you guys want to know what sheet this is on? What sheet is this on? Solving by square rooting. Is it still 1? Completing the square and square rooting? Yeah, I still think worksheets 1 and 2, yes? And we did some more square rooting. I actually don't think that there's imaginary answers on anything on the quiz except for this section that says add, subtract, multiply, and divide complex numbers, okay? So when you do quadratic, the big hint I'm giving you here, you shouldn't come out with an I answer on this first quiz. All right, divide both sides by 2, we get x plus 8 squared equals 32. How'd I do? Square root, and I get x plus 8 equals plus or minus the square root of 16 times 2, right? So that's 4 square roots of 2. And then if I subtract the 8 over there, I'd have a negative 8 plus or minus 4 square roots of 2. Did I skip too many steps? Because I can do it on another slide. Yes, I'm seeing some people going, 2 x plus 8, 64. Divide by 2, x plus 8, 32. Square root, x plus 8, plus or minus, and this is 16 times 2. So this is 4 square roots of 2. And then we subtracted the 8 over to the other side. Does that reduce further? No. This 4 is already out of the root. We can't reduce it further or anything. There's no divisor. We're good? All right, what about this, completing the square with an odd number? You need me to write the blanks? X squared minus 13x plus blank equals 50 plus blank. Remember, no graphing calculator tomorrow. I do have TI 30s over there if you need to borrow one. So we'll go x minus what? 13 over 2 squared. So when we put it back in the blank, we square the top and bottom and get, sounds right, 169 over 4 I'm going to go with. If we add 50 to that, you can use a decimal, but at the end you need an exact answer. So at some point you got to change it back to a fraction, I think. 50/4, if it, okay, 50 over 1 with a common denominator 4 would be 200 over 4. Everybody agree that that's really 50? So plus 169 over 4 would be 369 over 4. So then when I square root, I get x minus 13 halves equals plus or minus square root of 369 divided by 2, right? Square root of 4 is 2. Okay, 369. Let's see, if I divide that by 3, I get 123. That does divide by 3 again, though, doesn't it? 41. So I'm thinking 369 is 9 times 41. Did somebody check that? So if it's 9 times 41, it's 3 square roots of 41. I'm pretty sure the one on the quiz is easier than that, okay? 13 over 2, I'm adding to the other side, plus or minus 3 square roots of 41 over 2, or you could write it all over 2. Okay, if you were horrified at the end and weren't sure you got it right, do you remember what you could do? Yeah, you could plug it back in and check it. That sounds fun. Could you have done this same problem by quadratic formula and see if you get the same answer? Okay, you're just solving a different method. All right, quadratic formula and discriminant, we talked about also on worksheet 1 and 2. So here's an example. What does it say? I can solve using the quadratic formula with real solutions, like simplifying radicals. Okay. First of all, you have to know the quadratic formula for the quiz. Can we talk about discriminant first? The discriminant is just b squared minus 4ac, no radical. If the discriminant is what happens? What are the three options for the discriminant? If it's equal to 0, one solution, because you're adding and subtracting nothing here. So it's just one solution. If it's positive, we get what kind of solutions? Two real. If it's less than 0 or negative, we get complex, two complex, or no real. It just says on the quiz, state the discriminant and the number and type of solutions. I will take two complex or no real. Does that make sense for that one? I don't care what you do. And if you said two imaginary, that's fine. I'm not going to be picky about the vocab. All right, so for this problem right here, if we did b squared minus 4ac, what's that going to come out? 289? I don't know, probably wrong. Okay. So what are we going to have? You say discriminant is 289, which means there's two real solutions. Anybody know anything about 289? It's a perfect square. So you'd actually have two rational solutions. They would come out nicer. They wouldn't be radicals, but you don't have to know that. Okay. Down here, trying to trick us. It's got to equal 0 before we can do discriminant, right? 9x squared plus 6x. If we add 7 over here, I get positive 1. Did I do that right? Okay, b squared minus 4ac. I'm getting 0. So that means there's one real solution. One was two real, one real. Any questions about the discriminant part? All right. Woo. I'm going to put these on another slide just so I don't have to cram in there. I'm sorry you guys don't have a lot of space for this. Can always use scratch paper. I have scratch paper if you need some. I can't even remember what I'm doing. I'm trying to put these on another screen. Okay, I'm all right. I'll be okay. Okay, let's try these two problems. Quadratic formula practice. Want to do one together and one on your own? Or you want to try them both on your own? Try them, okay? Do them on your own. I will go really slowly as I write them up here. Did somebody get 132? I'm doing this in my head, so it could be wrong. Yes? Okay. I think there's one tomorrow that like you don't have to simplify and one that you do have to simplify at the end. But 132. 4 goes in there, yes? 33, which is just 3 times 11, so it's not perfect squares, so we get 2 squares of 33. I mean, I intentionally picked kind of gross ones for the review, so we practice the hardest kind, but they're not that hard tomorrow. Everybody okay? Did you get that? Or you need me to go back over where I got part of it, any part of it? Did I do something wrong? What? Okay. Oh, I just reduced this 2 here. Is that what the 1, 2 you're missing? This one I reduced by 2. All right, did you guys do 11 already? Or that's not 11, it's the other one, I guess. Minus 6x, add 2 over here is a negative 12. Yep, pretty sure I can't do that in my head. This would be 120, 132 times 4. Yep, I don't know. Someone help me with this. 652. Where are you, little wabbit? Okay. Why is it not working when I hit run? I want to cry. All right, I don't know what's going on. 5, what, guys? Okay, does 4 go into that? Does 16 go into that or not? 4 goes in how many times? One more time. So we get 3 11ths plus or minus the square root of 141 over 11. Okay, I do hereby solemnly swear that while there might be one that you have to reduce, they're not both that ugly on the quiz tomorrow, okay? Because I want to see, can you do an easy one? Can you do one that you have to simplify? I'm not just going to ask icky one. All right, all this fun? Add, subtract, multiply, divide complex numbers and powers of I. This is all on worksheet 3. And you practice it on page P8, right? Was the bookwork? And this is the last concept that's actually on the quiz, except for review of writing equations, linear equations. All right, these are kind of, yep, it's on the homework checklist for tomorrow, which I can go over one more time in a second. 4 plus 3 is 7, 5i minus 8i is negative 3i. We can get that one right? What about this one down here? 7i minus 7 plus 6i if I distribute the negative, right? And a minus 2, which simplifies 2. Anybody? Yes, negative 9 plus 13i. All right, what about these multiply ones? Let me put, I don't have room to do these on here, so. Ah, just kidding. I'm actually going to go to powers of I before I flip to another slide here. What about the powers of I? Do you remember how to do this? What are the only two things Hofbauer can remember? I is the square root of -1 and I squared is -1. So I can remember what an I squared is. That's about it. I squared goes into here how many times? And I squared is? And even the simplest scientific calculator will do -1 to the 111th power if you need it to. But you'll get it wrong if you don't put it in parentheses. You shouldn't need to type it in, right? Should be what? An odd power, so it should just be -1. What about this one? 167. It's not divisible by 2, so what am I going to do first? I'm going to take one out. Okay, so I'm going to have an I as part of my answer. And 166 is divisible by 2 how many times? 83. So that's an I and a -1 to the 83rd, which should be negative or positive? Negative. So we get a -1 times an I or a negative I. If you wrote -1I, that would be fine. Okay, if you're taking a wild guess on that question, what are the only 4 possible solutions? 1, -1, I, and -I. Yes. All right, let's practice multiplying real quick. What can we do to the first one? Someone's going to write 4 plus 49I squared. Is that the right answer? What? It's not the right answer in multiple ways, right? You have to FOIL it out. So you do get a 4, then you get a minus 14I and another, whoops, I don't know why I need a comma. Another minus 14I and a plus 49I squared. What does this become? This is a -1, so we get a -49. 4 minus 49 is -45 minus 28I. Do you need me to do this one or you got this? We can skip it. Okay. What about these guys? Was a negative on the top here too? Okay. What do we have to do? The complex conjugate is the vocabulary word. What are we multiplying by? Negative. Only the conjugate of A plus BI is A minus BI. Only the sign in the middle changes. You keep whatever the A value was. Okay. So who can FOIL the top together for me? Come on. 90 plus 20I. Is that right for the outside? Inside is -10 times -2. Andrew, are we kidding? What's minus? Okay. No, you're good. Minus 36 and then a -8I squared. And I always write that down before I try to change it in my head because I struggle with that. Okay, so this is a -1, so that'll make it a +8. So the top is a -16I. Yes? Plus 98. All right, the denominator is what we get when we FOIL all of this together, which should be 81 plus 18i minus 18i minus 4i squared. The middle term should drop out or you did something wrong. Yes, you did the conjugate wrong. That's the whole point in doing this. A minus 4i squared will become positive 4. So I get 85. Oh, I think it's a good moment. I don't think that reduces, does it? You could write this. Actually, you write in the other order, so it's a plus bi form. I don't care. You can leave it like that. That's the least of my worries. On this one, I don't think there's one like this on the quiz, but remember there was a shortcut. You could just multiply top and bottom by I, otherwise it'll reduce at the end. If you use the conjugate, it won't matter. I'm not going to do that one. This is not on the quiz. Okay, anything else? What is on the quiz is, what is 6? No. Nope. Nope. Just the stuff on the front. But what's the other thing that is on the quiz, guys? I warned you. Yes. So let's make up an example or two. Y equals 2/3 x minus 7 and negative 3, 9. Okay, so here's my question. Write an equation of the line. Should we do parallel, perpendicular? Perpendicular to that through this point. So what would you do? I would do point slope. So y minus 9 equals, and you got that slope from flipping that over. If it said parallel, you don't flip it, right? X minus negative 3, which would be plus 3. Remember, you don't have a calculator that necessarily does fractions tomorrow, so be a little bit careful. If I multiply this times this, what do I get? Negative 9 over 2. Okay? If this didn't say standard form, okay, if it said slope-intercept form, you'd have to add 9 over here, and honestly, I'd take a decimal if it was exact, okay? Should be 9/2, because if this is negative 4.5 and you add 9, you get 4.5, right? But what if it said standard form, just for fun? I would right there multiply by 2 so that I could get rid of the fractions before I had to add anything over there. So I'd end up with 3x plus 2y when I add, yeah. Okay. It doesn't necessarily say standard form, so read directions carefully. What's the other kind that's going to be on that section? The whole equation of the line given 2 points. Can you do slope right side up, guys? It's about a 50-50 shot. Which numbers go on the top for slope? The y's. 1 minus negative 3. I also got people who are adding for slope. 1 minus negative 3 over 4 minus negative 2. You can do it in the other order. You get the same answer if you do it right. I got 2/3. Which point do you want to use? If I use this and this slope, I'd have y minus 1 equals 2/3 x minus 4. Y minus 1 equals 2/3 x minus, what's 2/3 times 4? 8/3. What if I have to add 1 over there to that side? How many thirds is that? 3/3 is 1. Negative 5/3? I think. How could I check that that was right? Do you know? I could plug this point in and this point in and make sure they both work, right? And by plug it in, I mean put a 4 in here and make sure it comes out 1. I'd get 8/3 minus 5/3 is 3/3, which is 1. Then put a -2 in here and make sure it comes out -3. I get -4/3 minus 5/3 is -9/3, which is -3. All right, let me look at the quiz, make sure I didn't forget anything on that section. Anybody have a question off the homework or anything they want me to? Oh, there's a word problem. It's, guys, it's a word problem like, no, it's about writing equation of a line. So I took my car to the mechanic, and for 4 hours, he charged me $420. For 5 hours or 6 hours, he charged me $580. And there was a flat fee plus a hourly. So how do you find the hourly? The hourly is the slope, right? So 580 minus 420, you just treat these like ordered pairs. Over 6 minus 4 is 160 over 2, 160 over 2, which is 80. So the hourly was $80 an hour. And then how do I find the whole cost equation? I could do just find the equation by slope intercept or point slope. The suggestion I think Ian was thinking was if 4 hours times 8 would be 320, right? So what's the flat fee he must have tacked on? $100. Some of you just do it that way. You could also do the whole, this is the slope. So if you distribute and add, you'll get 80x plus 100. Any questions about the quiz? Okay, I'm going to stop the video.